Hi, this is Tom Hoskins for Mining Journal. I'm here with Frazer Tabeart, who's the managing director for Alma Metals, which is an ASX-listed junior copper miner with two projects in East Kimberley, Western Australia, and one in Queensland. Hi, Frazer, how's it going?
Good, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thank you very much. So let's just kick things off for our viewers who are not familiar with Alma just yet. Could you start by giving us a bit of an overview of where you're at as a company, please?
Yeah, we're a relatively new company under this guise as Alma Metals, and this really all kicked off about 3 years ago when we started acquiring copper assets in Australia. So we've acquired a number of tenements in Western Australia. That's our Kimberley project. We're still going through the process of getting our land access organised there, and I guess our flagship project is the Briggs joint venture in Queensland, and that's a project we entered into almost exactly 2 years ago now, and we've got an earn-in structure there with the current owner, which is Canterbury Resources. So we're going through a series of stages of exploration there where we can ultimately earn up to 70% interest in that project. It's a large, well, has the potential to be a very large copper project. It's of the style of mineralisation that people refer to as porphyry copper, and they tend to be very large, but relatively low to moderate grade, but a very important class of copper deposit, producing probably about 60% of the world's copper comes from this style of deposit.
Okay, thanks, Frazer. And in terms of news flow, you've had a recent resource update at Briggs, which shows a very large resource. Can you tell us a little bit more about the update, please?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, look, we're absolutely delighted with the result here. So we, as I said, we got involved in the project 2 years ago. We've undertaken 2 phases of drilling on top of the historical work that had been completed beforehand. So we announced a major resource update a few days ago, and that's taken the total inferred resource up to well over 400 million tonnes now, at a grade of 0.25% copper. Along with 31 parts per million of molybdenum as a byproduct credit. Now that means we've got over 1 million tonnes of contained copper metal in situ at the deposit, and over 28 million pounds of molybdenum. And that starts showing that this project has the scale potential to be something that could be considered for development, as a porphyry copper, where you need large scale to get the economies from that scale to reduce your costs so that these low grades can become attractive. And one of the most important aspects here of this particular deposit is it's at surface. The mineralisation literally sticks out of the ground over almost 2 kilometres of strike length. And that resource is not that entire strike length. So there's still, very significant upside in almost all directions, including deeper under the deposit. So, our view, there's absolutely no doubt that this resource is going to continue to grow with further drilling.
Okay, and I think it'd be interesting to just hear your thoughts on what makes Briggs such an important resource in the context of the global copper market.
Yeah, well, I guess, the global copper market, I think, most market observers expect the market to go into severe deficit, sometime in the next 2 to 3 years. And that's a result of, more copper is required if the world's going to, go through this decarbonisation program. Electric vehicles require more copper than internal combustion engine vehicles. Wind farms, solar panels all require copper. Any form of electric motor requires copper. So the demand is there. But a lot of the supply is starting to struggle. We're seeing, large mines with, declining grades. We're seeing many of the newer discoveries in remote areas in developing countries, which just extends the time frame for development. So for us, it's all about the timing. We think we can get Briggs, almost fully de-risked over the next 2 to 3 years. And that's going to feed very nicely into, a time when there's going to be a severe squeeze on copper, and that's got to be good for copper prices and got to be good for people such as ourselves that have, large scale, low risk copper opportunities.
Yeah, of course. And just back to the asset itself for a second, where do you see the upside there?
Well, I guess we've got 2 upside scenarios. We've got certainly significant upside in terms of tonnage. As I mentioned previously, the deposit, is open in almost all directions, particularly to the northwest, the southeast and the southwest, and also at depth. So we'll be following up, trying to extend that over the next few months with further drilling. But we've also got upside on the grade. And as I said, the average grade is 0.25% copper, but we've certainly got some very interesting areas very close to surface where we're seeing grades of 0.3 to 0.55% copper. And if we can sort of firm those up into a contiguous body, there is the potential there that we could outline what might become the first 3 to 4 year starter pit at higher grade. And that obviously just helps de-risk the project. Gives you higher returns, less uncertainty in the early phases of the project where that's usually your highest risk in development is getting those first 3 years behind you. So that's something we're very keen to follow up on as well.
Yeah, you mentioned you've got drilling to come in the next few months. What else can we expect to see news flow wise from Briggs?
Yeah, so there's three sort of things we're looking at the moment. We've recently completed a soil sampling program just to see if we can find the edges of the system. So we'll be putting that information out shortly. That'll allow us to sort of refine the overall scale of the exploration target here. And I don't think there's any secret that it's going to get bigger than it previously was. And that will then help focus, where's the next phase of drilling going. So that'll focus on those two aspects. Where can we get extra tons? So we'll be looking at joining up the northern lobe of mineralisation with the central lobe of mineralisation. And then we'll do some infill drilling in that central lobe, trying to target those high grade zones and start, reducing the risk around that. So plenty of news flow over the next, 4 or 5 months.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Frazer. That pretty much wraps things up for today. It's a really good overview of where you're at with Briggs. So thank you for that. Just remains for me to thank you very much indeed for joining us.
So a pleasure, Tom. Thank you.